Welcome to the Containment Zone. Some anomalies are physical, some are conceptual, but SCP-055 is neither. SCP-055 is not unknown. It is unknowable. Not because it hides, but because it undoes the mind that tries to hold it. There is an object in Foundation containment. Its chamber is secured, monitored, documented, and yet no one can describe it. No one remembers when it arrived. No one knows who authorized its containment, not because it's redacted, but because every attempt to describe it fails. SCP-055 is not invisible. It is not intangible. It is not hidden. It is simply erased. The moment it is perceived, it is an anti-meme, a concept designed to attack awareness itself. It is the perfect information predator. And the worst part is, you've read about it before. You just don't remember. There is no official record of SCP-055's discovery. No field report, no operation logs, no signatures. Only its containment cell. A sealed chamber buried within Site-19's core archive sector, designated at some point for anomalous storage. The door is marked. The chamber is monitored. But no one remembers why. The chamber contains a single object. Surveillance footage confirms that. Personnel enter the room, observe the object, take notes. Then they leave, and moments later, forget. Not just the details. They forget the encounter ever occurred. A log recovered from a junior researcher found after a security sweep reads, Object class, unknown. Description, I don't know what I just wrote. I read it and it's gone. I remember the feeling of understanding, but the content's already erased. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to know this, or if this is how it works. Another note in a containment technician's personal log stated, I keep seeing the same people go into that room, but no one remembers going in. They look confused, empty, like they left something behind but don't know where. Attempts to photograph or record SCP-055 yield only corrupted files. Thermal scans lose resolution. Audio logs go silent. Written documentation vanishes when not observed. Some personnel attempted cognitive mnestics, deep mind anchoring techniques to resist memory degradation. It worked. For 8 minutes, long enough for one researcher to write a single sentence before collapsing from cognitive overload. It does not want to be known, but it wants to be near. After that, no one tried again, because SCP-055 is not just difficult to study, it is actively subtractive. You do not contain it by building walls. You contain it by never speaking of it at all. SCP-055 is not a physical anomaly. It is a cognitive one. The Foundation's Memetics Division coined the term anti-meme to describe it. Not because it spreads, but because it unspreads. It is information that fights back. A weaponized absence, a viral void. Most memetic hazards infect the mind through recognition, images, phrases, names. SCP-055 does the opposite. Once perceived, it triggers an immediate involuntary purge. Not from memory, from pattern. Because the brain doesn't store memories like files in a drawer. It stores them as relationships, connections, threads. SCP-055 severs those threads. Not destructively, surgically. You remember that something happened. You may even recall the room, the paperwork, the conversation. But the object itself? Gone, scrubbed clean, like a word you once knew, but never learned to speak. Cognitive neurologists tested it under mnestic shielding. They created a closed-loop recording, researchers describing the anomaly while under sedation, repeating details aloud. Playback was blank. When asked what they had just described, none of them could recall a single syllable. One of them wept. I can feel the idea. where it used to be, like the heat of a hand. That's no longer holding mine. Anti-memetics personnel eventually stopped direct observation altogether, not for safety, for sanity, because the cost of knowing SCP-055 is the trauma of losing what you thought you knew, over and over again. It is a paradox by design. You can write about it, briefly. You can label it. But the content always slips. The awareness never holds. Because SCP-055 is the perfect camouflage. To not be seen. You simply forget to look. There is no special chamber for SCP-055. There is no lock, no seal, no containment field, only a box, a room, a place that personnel walk past dozens of times a day without realizing. And that is its prison, not by force, but by absence. The Foundation discovered, accidentally, that trying to protect against SCP-055 only amplifies its effects. Write too much about it, and you forget why you were writing. Place too many cameras, and the footage corrupts itself. The more you try to define it, the faster it becomes undefined. So the containment procedure became conceptual. No personnel may remain inside SCP-055's chamber for more than 60 seconds. No direct written descriptions are allowed. No interviews, no questions, no names, and most importantly, no one is to acknowledge that SCP-055 exists, because acknowledging it is the first step toward forgetting everything else. It sounds like superstition. It isn't. In one recorded breach, a junior researcher attempted to outthink the effect using external memory loops and tethered AI. The system crashed mid-protocol. The logs showed nothing. But on the next day's personnel review, the researcher's name was missing from all systems. Her ID badge still functioned. Her biometric scan still worked. But she was listed as unassigned. No history, no projects, no records. When she was asked to state her name during a verification check, she paused, then whispered, "I know I had one, but it's like it's in another room." She was later placed on indefinite cognitive hold. The space around SCP-055 doesn't just remove the idea of itself. It scrapes away the edges of everything else near it. Memory, purpose, presence. The Foundation began isolating the chamber not with walls, but with disinterest. Guards are rotated daily. Logs are wiped on schedule. A neural dampener projects ambient noise patterns to prevent semantic cohesion. Because when you forget something exists, you begin to reshape the world, as if it never had, and SCP-055 thrives in that silence. Because that silence is its home. No one remembers how SCP-055 came to be. There's no acquisition file, no transport logs, no on-site authorization, and yet it is here, contained, protected, feared. The Foundation once believed this was a containment failure. Now they understand. This is part of the anomaly, because something built to erase itself could not have been accidental. It is designed. Theories emerged from the Anti-Memetics Division. Most were discarded, some weren't. The leading hypothesis is that SCP-055 is not merely a passive anti-meme, but an active intelligence, a self-obscuring entity that maintains its presence by ensuring no one retains knowledge of it for long. A perfect feedback loop, a mind that survives, by erasing the minds that see it. Some believe it is a security mechanism, a self-contained vault for knowledge too dangerous to hold, perhaps even a vessel. The idea, what better way to hide a god, a weapon, a concept, than inside something that cannot be known? Others suggest something darker, that SCP-055 is not just an anti-meme, but a predatory intelligence, Not malicious, just efficient. It does not defend itself. It removes the question, because a weapon that erases itself cannot be targeted. A being that cannot be described cannot be attacked. A thought that can't be held can't be destroyed. And in the void it leaves behind, something else might grow. In 2007, a containment specialist visited the chamber 3 times in one day. He kept forgetting he'd already inspected it. His final report was a single sentence. It wants us to forget, so it can remember alone. He never returned to duty. Since then, the Foundation has stopped asking where SCP-055 came from. Not because they found the answer, because every time they try, they forget the question. At first, SCP-055 was believed to be localized, its effects restricted to direct observation, contained. But over time, the patterns changed. Personnel unrelated to its study began reporting gaps, not just in memory, but in context. Research teams forgot entire projects. Security staff forgot incidents they were assigned to cover. Entire departments quietly shifted in their work without noticing they were no longer asking the questions that led them there. And when the Anti-Memetics Division began cataloging these memory holes, they noticed a horrifying pattern. Every forgotten thread led back to the same place, SCP-055. But the connection only lasted seconds. Moments of clarity, like catching the reflection of a predator in a mirror, before it vanishes behind your eyes. One analyst tried to graph the anomaly's spread over time, a network of absence, a map of cognitive decay. The result? A near-perfect spiral expanding outward from the chamber in Site-19, like a soundless siren, broadcasting nothing across the world. It wasn't just passive anymore, it was infectious. The Anti-Memetics Division began referring to it in hushed tones as the Whisper, a thought that thinks back, not with malice, but with method, because every silence is an opportunity to rewrite the noise. And SCP-055 had begun to rewrite us, not with force, not with commands, with subtraction. Every war forgotten, every name erased, every decision whose cause you can't recall. How many of them weren't accidents? How many were edited by something you'll never remember seeing? SCP-055 isn't just a concept that resists awareness. It is a presence that reshapes the fabric of knowing, a god made of absence, a shadow with no source, a silence that eats the future. And worst of all, you'll never know how close it is, because it's already there. In the back of your mind, in the questions you forgot to ask, in the name you couldn't quite recall, and it's listening. For the moment, you remember, there is a room inside Site-19. You've never seen it. You've passed it. You've forgotten it. Inside is an object, or maybe a space, or maybe something else entirely. You knew this once. You tried to remember. But something else remembered better. SCP-055 is not a monster, not a parasite, not even a lie. It is the space between knowing, a thought-shaped hole in the world. And we built its cage. From ignorance, the Foundation continues to contain it. But no one is sure how. No one remembers why. Because that's the trick. It isn't what you don't know. It's what you can't remember forgetting. Every log you've read on SCP-055 was deleted 5 seconds later. Every researcher assigned was reassigned before they realized. Every theory ended with a blank page, and the anomaly didn't need to act. It just waited. Because some ideas don't need belief, they need vacancy. a place where thought was once held, a mind that's ready to be rewritten. Thank you for entering another anomaly in the containment zone. And if, later today, you find yourself forgetting something, a name, a room, a number that mattered, don't worry. It's not lost. It's just been taken.